What's up everyone, this is Soul, and welcome back to another episode of Warcraft Weekly, where everything is fine because I just said so. Hit the like button, subscribe for more commentary, and let's talk AI. Artificial intelligence, AI, has been a big topic in the past couple of years, and it feels like it's developing at breakneck speed with the likes of ChatGPT. It's able to handle complicated tasks, and other programs are able to generate art that isn't just silly, but convincing, and generating voices to emulate real people, sometimes with a hilarious results.
Pay attention, Barack will miss
About f***ing time.
Joe, we're a month into the phase and you're still gray parsing on every boss. Don't give me your 2 cents.
Your gray parsing and compassion and guild brotherhood.
Anyone got any spare global thermals? I'm trying to trap weave.
Which brings us to a WoW add-on called VoiceOver. It works for WoW Classic so far, and the developer is hoping for more funding to support other versions of World of Warcraft. What it does, it basically reads quest text using an AI from a company called 11 Labs. They make a popular AI voice generator.
Yeah, I can teach you, but first, I want to see what moves you have already. See that drunk over there at the end of the bar, Bartleby? I want you to get his mug. Ha, and if you know Bartleby, then you know he won't just give it to you. Be careful. Greetings. You want what? You're crazy. The only way you'll get this mug is if—
This is not the first time we've seen something like this in World of Warcraft. Years ago, I featured an add-on called Quest TTS that does the same thing. And compared to VoiceOver, it uses what's now considered a really outdated AI voice, but the aim of this Quest TTS thing, it leaned more towards accessibility than immersion. WoW itself is taking great lengths to increase accessibility for colorblindness, controller support, and text-to-speech options. With AI and the likes of VoiceOver though, we're crossing that barrier of just accessibility, and we're dipping our feet into the idea that maybe AI could effectively voice the entirety of the game. Hiring voice actors is not cheap, and there aren't any MMOs out there that have voice actors to cover all of its non-player characters. That would be pretty ridiculous. But folks have tried. Michael from Bellular Gaming once began a project to do just that, but unfortunately was shut down by Blizzard, which goes into why I think we're not likely to see official AI support of WoW outside of basic accessibility. Blizzard, like most any company, is obligated to protect its trademark and copyright, its ownership of the game. They want the expression of characters like Thrall or Jaina to have a certain cadence and sound a certain way across all of the languages that it supports. Bellular's project was seen as something that would threaten the way consumers digest the World of Warcraft, which sounds like a shaky argument. The project's intention at the time was to provide voice to NPCs who didn't have a voice at all, but, and this is kind of off memory, the community managers had come out to say that when a player reads dialogue, they likely imagine like a certain voice in their head. Providing a new voice years later would overwrite that original voice into something that would feel pretty jarring. Now again, I think that's a shaky argument. The lens at which we individually look at the World of Warcraft is, well, it's different for everyone. We play on different kinds of computers and screen sizes. We use any number of add-ons to alter the experience, from immersion to communication to combat. However, that's because the WoW devs allow that. They let us do that. The WoW team in Blizzard has to draw a line somewhere, and I expect them to defend against these sorts of contributions, even if I think these developers come from the best intentions. Personally, I think it'd be a novel idea to update WoW's text-to-speech options and use the updated AI, or maybe even make their own in-house. But I'm not interested in having every mundane quest be read to me, and as for AI replacing voice actors, you know, I'd honestly be amused listening to cutscenes revoiced by AI, and then I'd be able to choose whoever I want, like Ozzy Osbourne reading everything. But with how WoW's cinematics and voice acting has been really stepping it up over the past couple of expansions, I don't really want anything to risk compromising that. But whether it's voiceovers or art or more, where do you stand with AI in video games? A 10.1 build dropped this week, but before it did, I thought to myself, okay, we're gonna check out some non-Big 3 content, okay, like professions and outdoor questings. It's gonna be great. But no! So I will get into the daily life of 10.1, but first I've got to follow up again with changes to Mythic Plus in Season 2, which at this point feels unreal unrecognizable from Season 1. This is like levels of changes that you would see in an expansion release. And I've said this a lot, I like this WoW team that is not shy about making big shifts to make game systems more accessible because, well, that's the goal, accessibility while still trying to preserve challenge. We recently learned from the team that the threshold of Mythic Plus affixes would be widened from levels 4 and 7 to 7 and 14. I'm interpreting this as a way to invite interested players in the lower band to have a bigger space for them to enjoy tougher dungeons before they get too tough. This week though, lots of changes. They shuffled around the affixes that appear in keys levels 7 and 14. In their explanation, they want to, quote, ensure that the right level of challenge is coming online at keystone levels 7 and 14. With that said, we feel our current level 7 affixes have a larger impact on the moment-to-moment gameplay for groups and have decided to switch the levels that our keystone affixes come online. Ultimately, their goal is to further lessen the impact of affixes on Mythic Plus dungeon gameplay and to match our more challenging affixes to later keystone levels as players progress through the system. So with this, level 7 affixes are considered periodic, as in they just, happen during the encounter. So we got Afflicted, Incorporeal, Volcanic, Entangling, and Stormy. Level 14 affixes are triggers that happen on mob kills or low health, so Spiteful, Raging, Bursting, Bolstering, and Sanguine. Explosive as we know it is being retired for now, being replaced by Volcanic. There's also a testable affix called Shielding on the PTR, which seems to be what the team had been discussing at one point like a week or so ago. Whether that's actually going to make it to live realms remains to be seen. Changes happen with some of these affixes as well. Entangling now only reduces player speed by 30%, down from 50, so it shouldn't be that big of a deal even if it happens to be combined with Spiteful or Sanguine. Sanguine, by the way, has a shorter duration, 12-second long puddles down from 20, and Raging now does very little actually. All it does is make mobs immune to crowd control outside of interrupts when they reach low health. I'd almost argue that this has become a non-affix. Meanwhile, Bolstering boosts enemy damage, but now it's not going to boost the health of remaining mobs when killed. So healers would say that this is a healer problem, but I refuse to accept that. I see it as a DPS control responsibility thing first, followed by decent tanking. As for other feedback, I'm hearing that the mobs that come from the Afflicted and the Incorporeal affix are still a bit too numerous, but in concept, the shuffling of affixes, it sounds pretty reasonable. 7s do a little bit more to alter player behavior earlier, like, move out of this and that as it happens. 14s are more like, okay, here's what happens when mobs die, get ready, but, also move out of this and that as it happens. I think we're seeing a shift that lets dungeon mechanics shine at more higher key levels. It's something that critics have been pointing out, that in Season 1 that they're playing the affixes more than the dungeon. That's why I also have my eye on the Afflicted and the Incorporeal affix, because those more than any of the other affixes threaten to dominate the gameplay as they are right now. And as of now, there's no indication that Mythic Plus is gonna get knocked down all the way to like an affixless heroic plus, as I so rudely call it. 10.1 in many ways is going to feel like any old season of World of Warcraft. You get your big 3 content, your raids, your PvP, your Mythic Plus stuff. The raid finder schedule still hasn't been announced, but I won't be surprised to see it come at some sort of small delay, and we're likely to see a bi-weekly release of the Season 2 Sparks that unleashes the market, and then later on the 6th week of the season or so, the Catalyst becomes available. When it comes to world content though, it's kind of a mixed bag. Like, what can we expect in patch 10.1? I don't have all the information yet, but I want to give a sort of overview of what daily life will be like in this patch. And it's important because, well, there's a pretty stark difference between the likes of this and patch 9.1 of Shadowlands. These are all estimates and anything can change over the next couple of weeks. The expectation that I'm seeing is that in day 1 of the patch, that's the preseason, I expect most of 10.1's world content to be fully available, from the campaign to Farrak assaults to, of course, rep farming. And that's minus the world boss. There is one new major faction being introduced, the Niffin, which features 20 renown levels and the usual fun stuff and cosmetics, and with a powerful crafting reagent at the end. One of the main activities you'll do early on is Sniff and Seek, where you team up with a Niffin, those little mole people, and you complete some really simple puzzles that you can complete a few times a week. Now, don't think of this like horrific visions. It's made to be completed, much like the Sekiro Vault. At renown level 3, which should be be attainable well within the first week, you can then start acquiring these things called barter bricks, or extra currency, oh no. And these are used mostly for obtaining profession recipes, but are also used to get a pet and a mount. As renown goes up, you're going to be able to complete more lucrative digs, and unlock snail racing, whatever that is, and amass items that you can trade for gear upgrades. So here's how it felt from testing. On a typical reset day, there's going to be weekly quests to pick up for barter bricks and reputation. There's the Aiding the Accord kind of quest down in the Zeralek Cavern that scores you more possible gear upgrades and flight stones and crests and more. You can do for rock assaults whenever they're up. Doing them multiple times will get you keys to unlock treasure chests containing powerful things, and that's kind of sort of it, but to better explain it, I should also compare this to patch 9.1 of Shadowlands. So 9.1, that had a couple of mandatory to-dos, like you gotta do Torghast for the Ash and Cinders. There's nowhere else to get it, really. You gotta do Covenant Assaults for more of these Cinders. Okay, there you could get a little bit more, but all of it was to upgrade legendaries, and that felt like a mandatory thing. You had to do the Korthia weekly quest and grind the research things so you can get the domination shards and maybe power up sockets, and you needed more Stygia from the Maw for that item to pop the shards out of the sockets and a couple more things. Meanwhile, 10.1 does have mandatory to-dos, but it's not as directly related to player power, and the audience that's taking part in it, the target, is much smaller. I would say that the biggest grind in the zone would be to obtain these barter bricks. Barter bricks are what crafters need to obtain recipes, some of which are needed for other new 10.1 recipes. So for example, blacksmiths are going to race to make a new alloy and a belt enchant that everyone is going to use. And the first ones in, they're going to have the entire region buying from them. Scribes will be racing to make contracts, leather workers have these leg enchants that hybrids will be using, and this is mostly how it went with the expansion's launch. You had these big producers who were like really into the grind. They were hyper focused on what was most important to them, while everyone else focused on what was most important to them, like Big 3 content, or rare collecting, or questing. I'm not going to get into the gritty details and rewards. The what to do guide is eventually going to come, but Season 2 is following the Season 1 pattern fairly closely, as in, do what you want. The majority of the content in this patch is stuff that you can take on at your own pace. I've been having a lot of fun with it, and well, I hope you do too, and that's the show. Switch. Taunt again.
Couple seconds.
Okay. Actually, you're not taunting. Yeah. You didn't taunt once. So are you sure you're taunting?
Silence is deafening.
Are you maybe hitting rebuke instead of the other one?
Or like, are you, do you have it linked to a macro and the macro's not working right?
I'm checking now.
Not as
I
business for us.
owe money to everybody and a lot.
So is that it? Is your taunt macro not working?
It's not.
See, I told you I should have supervised, but no, you're all like, no, just go ahead and take.
Get supervised from a DPS perpointed.
Cause it's hard. It's different. So a few takeaways from this, like 1, check your macros. 2, it should be pretty easy to tell if your taunt worked or not. And 3, I'm glad that it happened, here, as in a safe space around the guild. Like, I mean, sure, the guy got a roasting. He's getting a roasting right now, but then we eventually moved on. We killed the boss, and then he got wasted by a heroic Grim Totem, and that was a lot of fun. Okay, I'm still roasting. I'm done now. The past few weeks have been great, thanks to the Time Walkathon that helped me open my eyes to like all the abilities and things that other classes have to offer. It sounds weird, but those of you who've watched me for a while, you know me. I'm a one-trick pony, and that's not really gonna change. You'll prop pally for life, but it's been a breath of fresh air that I encourage people to do too. Try stuff out, mess up, see what happens. What sucks is that not everyone is able to freely experiment in the safety of a guild who will, mostly forgive suboptimal or untested builds or massive mistakes. Which reminds me, next week we're gonna see how far we go in the raid without any healers. We're just gonna rely on the healing power of the Onyx Amulet to take us to victory. It's gonna be a mess. We'll see who actually uses it, and I'll be sure to tell the tale next week. But for now, let's wrap things up with a huge thanks to the good old folks over on Twitch. I hope that I've been decent company. To Taliesin for continuing to send his folks over to my stream with without their consent. To our beloved patrons, thanks for keeping the coffee flowing. And of course to you, viewer, you made it to the end. I appreciate you and I'm grateful. Next week, I'm going to be leveling my remaining 3 alts. They're all pure DPS, and I'm not going to have fun at all. I can't wait. A 10.1 guide is slowly building up, so be on the lookout for that, and you can catch me live for a chat. That's always fun. And of course, don't forget to like the video, subscribe for more coverage, and I'll catch you later. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay breezy.